your theory of Olympic champions stay Olympic champions until they're dethroned, or at least Olympic champions stay favorites to make the team until they get dethroned. Because Matt Centrowitz ran an 800 in this race and only beat one person, ran 150, got 6. Now, this is not his featured event. He's not an 800-meter runner. He's a 1,500-meter runner. Last week, we talked about how you still had him number 1 in the U.S. I agree with you there. Does Centro's run in Florida in this meet change anything to you?
So this is one of those situations where I kind of would prefer to plead the fifth and not really have a take, because I don't want to be wrong either way, because I don't want to be wrong in doubting him, because then it's like, look at you doubted the Olympic champion. But I also don't want to be wrong in saying, no, he's still got it, and be like, dude, why do you keep on thinking this guy who is sucking in all of his races is the favorite? That's disrespectful to the young guns, to the Josh Thompsons and the Craig Engels of this world. So either way, I'm going to be wrong.
But tell me what's in your heart. Tell me what's in
my heart?
Yeah.
What's in my heart is my heart is maybe he's not the favorite. That's in my heart.
To make the team?
I don't know if it's to win. I don't know if it's in my heart yet that he won't make the team. I don't know if that's in my heart yet, but my heart is starting to beat. It's starting to race a bit. It's starting to get a little movement. And I just wish that he would have another race so I could just see him do something good so that I can put everything to the rest. Because right now, what's the most recent thing we can lean on that's like, okay, you still have it? I guess it's his 5K against Cole Hawker. Is that the most recent thing we can lean on?
13:32. Yeah, 13:32. If you want to go back to 2019, you can find some really good performances, because then he ran 13 flat, made the final in Doha, ran 3:32. But that's 2 years ago now, or a year and 9 months, or a year and a half, something like that.
Doesn't 2019 feel like last fall?
It does, and that's why I'm having problems. And I'm wondering if athletes feel the same way. Because if athletes are feeling the same way, they're in for a rude awakening when they find out that it's actually 2021. But I've been giving athletes credit and teams credit a lot of times for things they've done in 2019 as 2020, just because I've gotten my years mixed up.
I don't know. What do you think?
I think it means nothing. I think it means nothing at all. I think, listen, he may not be the favorite. He may not make the team, but it's not going to be because of an 800-meter race in
April,
the beginning of April. That's not it. It's Nick Willis had a good thread about it. It's just like when 1,500-meter guys drop down and run 800s, you don't know what they're really trying to get out of it. You don't know where they're at in their training. I mean, Centro's never been a dynamic 800-meter runner. His PB 144.62, but he hasn't necessarily been like cranking out the 800s throughout his career. I mean, it's a good sign that he's healthy and racing still. Again, I'm giving a lot of credit towards 2019 and that 13 flat 5K to show, hey, he's still in good shape. And if you run 13 flat, you can put out a pretty good 1,500. But we got a question here from Christian. Do you guys think Centro has more of a future in the 5K or the 15? I still think it's 15 because the acceleration over that last lap is what separates Centro. And then you look at the fields. Talked about this last week too.
Yeah.
If the men's 15 right now in the U.S. look like the men's 8, then you could say you got an issue on your hands, Centro, but it doesn't. The men's 15 right now is filled with a lot of people who don't have the standard and a lot of very young people and a couple guys in the middle who Centro has raced before and is probably pretty comfortable racing again, like Engels, and knows their tendencies.
And Thompson.
And Thompson, exactly, who's literally his training partner. He's going to figure that one out. Where I'd be worried is, okay, if he runs 150, is his speed just gone? But I don't think his speed just disappeared in a year. Because in that 3:32 against Hawker, the one thing he did have was a pretty good close. Granted, it was in a 5K, it wasn't in a 1500, but he had a pretty good close.
Yeah, and looking back, Hawker is actually now considered a top 3, top 4 guy in the U.S. So that kick against him
Yeah,
looks more respectable.
looks better, right? Yeah, yeah.
You know, yeah, it's one of those things. That's one of the things that the sports is confusing is you don't know. I just wish you could look at races and times and just be able to know what that means. But the fact
Hmm.
that a pro could be like coming off a different they could have been doing a workout before or after, they could be
Hmm.
approaching it where like, hey, we want you to only run the first 400 in a certain time and then try to run as fast as you can after, and try to
Hmm.
make it feel like the last 800 of a 1500 as opposed to the first 800 of an 800,
Yeah.
like where he's like
I'm look
trying to like
I'm looking
prepare for yeah.
I'm looking back to 2019 because let's just throw 2020 out. He didn't race. Centro didn't race until June 30th in 2019. He debuted at pre, if I'm looking at
Yeah, I
this
remember
correctly.
everyone was talking about, is he injured? That was like the big question.
He essentially debuted less than a month before U.S. Championships in 2019. Kind of reminds me of, was it Simmons's 2015 when he waited to race, and then
Yeah.
he ended up winning USA's that year. Not just you can't lose it that quickly, but I think he's good at getting sharp right time and knowing exactly what he needs to do. And
I
again, if
feel
we do the
like
test that we did with Fraser Price, who's the person you'd be least shocked made the Olympic team? It would be from the U.S. It would be Matt Centrowitz for the
I
1500.
feel like Matt Centrowitz's season this year is like a decathlon, where like in a decathlon you have a bunch of different events and you're good and bad in certain ones, and you don't really know if you truly are going to put up a good result until like the 7th or 8th event, because
Mm-hmm.
there's going to be a lot of fluctuation in those first 6 events. You might have a bad shot put, a good hurdle, this that, and I just feel like I can't really have a pulse on Centro until I get to that 7th, 8th decathlon event, where I'll know, like, all right, he's actually in it when he enters the 1500 at the trials. Because you end the decathlon with the 1500, he'll end his decathlon with the 1500 at the trials. We are just currently in the shot put phase where, like, yeah, we don't expect you to throw 20 meters in the shot put. It's okay. So, but maybe he threw 13 meters and he should have thrown 14, and we just don't know that yet. And we'll kind of look back and be like, hey, that 800 showed they didn't have a kick, but we don't know that yet.
Sure.
We'll know that
Yeah.
in retrospect. So
He's run plenty of 800s that were not as fast as you'd think he'd be able to run. You look at his all-time marks here. I mean, he's run a lot of, as I mentioned, he's run 144 before, run a lot of 146s, 147s, which again, I know that's different than a 150, but it's not as if he was cranking out consistent 145s every single year. Would you have been, and this is the weird thing about track, would you have been more confident if he just didn't race and then we didn't have any data
yeah,
about him? That's weird,
I
right? It's a
would
weird part of the sport.
100%.
But that shouldn't be the case. If he didn't race at all, say he debuted at the trials, we'd probably give him more of a chance than if he ran races leading up to it that were below his standard. It's just interesting the way the sport works out.